This is an interesting measuring instrument. It's called a multi-anvil micrometer. They normally come with a couple different anvils. They're held in by this clamping device on the end. The first one is usually a 1/8 diameter pin. You slide that in on the end, just snug it up, and it's held in place, nice and square. Anytime you work with some sort of a measuring instrument where it comes apart and you have to reassemble it, or you change the length, like length rods, anything like that, you need to calibrate it, make sure it reads 0. Very important that you check that. As you can tell, this is pretty accurately made, right on 0, just slipping that pin in there. Now there's another anvil that comes with these normally. It's a flat one. It's used for measuring the thickness of from a slot to the edge of a part, things like that. But you need to reach down into some sort of a slot that you couldn't get a normal micrometer into. That slides in basically the same way, except it's much wider. And if you're coordinated enough to get it in there properly and snug that up, that should also read right on 0. Think about how accurately that has to be made to just slip that in there and it reads right on. If you were to fully disassemble this, take the clamp assembly totally off. Be careful, there's a spring in there holding that jaw on. Keeps it open so you can slide the anvil in easily. Pull that all apart. You now have a micrometer head mounted on a little base that I always want to say it's a kind of a depth gauge, but it's more a height gauge with a micrometer head measurement. If you set this on a surface plate, on a 1, 2, 3 block, on a gauge block buildup, you can take measurements of a part fairly accurately. We know this is very well made by the way it holds those anvils in and always reads 0. Anytime you work with something like this, you want to totally assemble it, put it back in the box. Would not be good to drop any of these parts. If you picked up the box and dropped it and it opened up and those parts skittered across the floor, that little thumb nut would roll right under a bench somewhere, never to be seen again. Always put that loosely back together, back in the box. The multi-anvil micrometer.